I'm just gonna make an attempt to reiterate as many of the details from the position that we worked this week as I possibly can, okay? And like I mentioned, it's better to know how to do all of these things so that you can troubleshoot when problems arise versus not having the solutions and having to, in my opinion, figure it out on your own, right? When you figure these things out on your own and you find a way to do it, it'll always click, it'll resonate with you a little bit more. But when you have some of that guidance, if you can keep it on the back burner of your mind, as you're working through the position, you'll find that some of these same things that I'm talking about occur, especially in the hand fight or the transition. And if you don't have a response, sometimes you're gonna get pushed back into the guard, and then you're gonna have to worry about more off balances and things that are gonna put you out of position to do the things that we wanna do in terms of keeping our hands locked and advancing, okay? So when we start, the idea is we are able to do everything that we talk about if we can get to a position where I have your leg interlaced with mine. So I'm in a half guard, but your half guard isn't closed in a traditional sense. Okay, so it's more like a Z hook, but we prevent the knee shield from coming in. If you don't have the knee shield, the next thing I have to worry about is the cross shoulder post coming to the front side. So we're really fighting to come down and occupy this space here. If I can occupy the space here, most oftentimes what happens is as I'm initiating, my left hand is gonna be committed to your thigh, okay? In this process, I'm typically trying to drive into you. I'm trying to maintain my tight waist, and I'm trying to make an advancement to take my knee above your knee and then use some type of cranial shift to take your shoulders towards the mat. Ultimately getting chest to chest, right? And I think we understand that pretty well. So we fight to get to this position here. When I get to this position here, I'm gonna kickstand up because this is gonna give me the ability to drive off of a post that's wide enough that it should be hard for you to connect to it when my head position is down. If at any point here you start to reach over and grab my wrist with your right hand, then I have to worry if I make a cranial shift that you come across and connect to my arm. So that's one of the reasons why the head is gonna stay here throughout the majority of this process. If your hand is pushing my knee, even if I clear above and I have a good angle to come down, I'm gonna meet resistance, and that active resistance makes it really hard. So anytime I find you posting on my knee, I'll circle, my hand fight will be here, thumb up, and I'll work to staple. But when I staple, my arm doesn't stay bent. I try to take my wrist, my elbow, and my shoulder in the same alignment and control your arm at a distance. This prevents you from building up, okay? But if I stay here, I'm never gonna have the ability to effectively punch my body lock. So when I feel that you're beginning to pull your elbow back to your side and electing to go to the response of building up off of that elbow, I allow you to do so. And then I come through and I connect long arm, short arm, where my back hand here is palm down and my near side hand is palm up. If I wanna lock your hip to the mat, I bring my elbow form to the top. If I wanna adjust the length of your leg and pull you deeper in, I bring my elbow, my tricep to the front side of the quad, okay? From this position here, if at any point you go back to your side, when I begin to provide pressure and you block my knee, I'm gonna have to find a way to advance past this. So I can do something with my lower body, I can do something with my upper body. Generally, I sprawl out on this diagonal here by moving my knee back, assuming that you stay with an active hook here, so your instep is controlling my ankle. I will turn my knee out, I'll tuck my heel, and I'll rotate externally to pull your knee deeper so that I don't just have to use my tricep. Now, because I don't have to use my tricep on your leg, I can instead use it on your arm. So if you're keeping good pressure right there, as long as I'm not above, I'm meeting or going below, I can flare, and then this will allow me to come and start to swish her across. If I drop to the tops of my feet, you can build up. If I stay active on the balls of my feet, I can drive pressure into my head and make the shift to face to the outside. And now from here, as I walk, I can start to come into my passing positions that we talked about last week. Okay, so as long as you know how to do the two passes, the only other thing you have to consider is if you don't feel like the pass is a viable option because your partner is giving you too much drive away or too much elevation, which sometimes they can do by adjusting their legs, then we can go to that figure 4. Do you remember how to do that?
Partially.
Okay, so if I get to the point of having my hands locked and I make this shift to bring my head across to the outside, we come here. If I feel like you're doing too good of a job, so like maybe you come here and you beat me with this position and you start to frame my hip with that right hand, and I don't feel like I can walk up driving my head to the mat, then I'll drop my knee under my left knee, I'll retract my right heel to a figure 4, and then I'll drop my hip to your hip, extending and driving weight over my forearm that's under your back. From here, if I feel you starting to sit up and try to do something like grab a chin strap, I can always tuck my chin to my shoulder, and it boxes you up in that position, and I can bide my time. Even if I have to open, I can swisher, and I can start to build to underhooks and climb and come into my passing positions like that. Ideally though, I don't open my body lock unless I really feel like I have to. So I can hold that position and swisher my legs into that figure 4, and I can use that as a means to settle into the position and cook you a little bit until you start to fatigue, and then I can climb the body like that, okay?